"You're not pretty enough to be in my wedding photos." Those were my sister Sophie's exact words to me 3 months ago, standing in our mother's kitchen while I was visiting for Sunday dinner. Not that I looked frumpy or needed a makeover. Just flat out, not pretty enough. I'm Maya, by the way. I'm 32, and I own 3 restaurants in San Francisco. One of them has a Michelin star. But according to my family, my real accomplishment should have been looking like Sophie. Sophie is my younger sister. She's 27, has 500,000 Instagram followers, and calls herself a lifestyle influencer. What that actually means is, she posts photos of herself in borrowed designer clothes at events she didn't pay to attend, selling diet teas that don't work to teenagers who don't know better. But she's gorgeous. I mean, legitimately stunning. The kind of face that makes people stop mid-sentence. And my mother never let me forget that I wasn't. Growing up, I was always the smart one, the responsible one, the one who got straight A's and a full scholarship to Berkeley while Sophie barely graduated high school. But at every family gathering, every holiday, every single dinner, I watched my mother light up when Sophie walked in the room. She'd touch Sophie's hair, compliment her outfit, show her off to relatives. When I'd accomplished something, opened my first restaurant at 26, Mom's response was always the same. "That's nice, dear. Did you see Sophie's new Instagram post? She got 10,000 likes." So when Sophie got engaged to Marcus last year, I knew my role. I'd write a check, stay in the background, and watch my mother plan the wedding of her dreams for her favorite daughter. What I didn't expect was to be uninvited entirely. It happened so casually. Sophie didn't even look at me when she said it. She was scrolling through her phone, looking at bridesmaid dress options, and she just said, "Maya, I don't think you should come to the wedding. You'll ruin the aesthetic. All my bridesmaids are going to be gorgeous, and you'll just look frumpy in the photos. Plus, you're not really good with people, and I need everyone to be fun and photogenic." I felt like I'd been slapped. Our mother was standing right there, chopping vegetables, and she didn't even pause. She just said, "Sophie has a point, honey. This is her special day. You know how important image is for her brand. Maybe it's better if you just send a generous gift and let her have her moment." I stood there for probably 30 seconds, waiting for the punchline, waiting for Sophie to laugh and say she was joking, waiting for my mother to tell her that was cruel and unacceptable. Neither happened. Sophie just kept scrolling through her phone, and Mom went back to her vegetables. I left that night and didn't speak to either of them for 2 weeks. When Sophie finally called me, it wasn't to apologize. It was to tell me she'd booked the Celestial Terrace in downtown LA for the reception, 600 guests. She casually mentioned it was $60,000, and that she'd told the venue coordinator her sister was handling the payment. Not asked. Told them I was paying. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Sophie got quiet, and then she said in this wounded voice, "You're really going to be like this? After everything Mom and I have done for you? We've always supported your little restaurant thing, even though it's not glamorous. The least you could do is help me have the wedding I deserve." I hung up on her. That's when I made a decision. If I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding because I wasn't pretty enough, I was going to do something I'd never done before. I was going to spend money on myself. Frivolous, extravagant, unnecessary money. I called my boyfriend James, who's a venture capitalist and the most grounded person I know despite his Stanford MBA, and I said, "How do you feel about the Maldives?" We booked a villa at the Soneva Johnny Resort. $25,000 a night. For 5 nights. That's $125,000 for one trip. I'd never spent that kind of money on anything that wasn't my restaurants. I felt sick booking it. But I also felt something else. Free. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday, June 15th. Our flight to the Maldives left Thursday the 13th. I posted one photo on Instagram before we boarded. A first-class champagne toast with James. The caption was simple, "Choosing joy." I tagged the airline and the resort. Within an hour, I had 3 missed calls from my mother. I didn't answer. James and I spent the 15-hour flight watching movies and sleeping in lie-flat seats. When we landed in Malé and took the seaplane to the resort, I felt something I hadn't felt in years around my family. Peace. The villa was insane. Overwater bungalow with a glass floor so you could watch fish swimming underneath. Private infinity pool. A water slide that dropped straight into the ocean. A full kitchen, outdoor shower, and a wine cellar. Our butler, a kind man named Arush, asked if we wanted anything special for our stay. I said just quiet and privacy. He smiled like he understood exactly what I meant. Friday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from my mother. I showed James, and he said, "You don't have to answer. We're on vacation. You told them you weren't coming." But I had this sinking feeling in my stomach. I opened my voicemail. "Maya, this is your mother. Call me back immediately. Your sister needs to speak with you. This is urgent." Then Sophie's voice. "Maya, stop being petty. I know you're mad about the wedding thing, but this is serious. Call me back right now." Then my mother again. "Maya Chen, you pick up this phone. Your sister's wedding is tomorrow, and there are issues that need to be resolved. You're being incredibly selfish." I showed the messages to James. He said, "Issues they need you to resolve probably means money they need you to send." I nodded. He was right. He's always right about these things. I didn't call back. Instead, James and I spent the day snorkeling. The resort has this incredible house reef, and we swam with manta rays and sea turtles. We had lunch on a sandbar in the middle of the ocean. The staff set up a private table with fresh lobster and champagne. My phone was back at the villa, and for 6 hours, I forgot my family existed. When we got back late afternoon, I had 41 missed calls. I sat on the edge of the infinity pool with my feet in the water and opened my phone. There were dozens of texts, but the one that caught my eye was from my cousin Jennifer. Jennifer's cool. She's the only family member who's ever been proud of my success. Her text said, "Maya, I don't know if you know what's happening, but Sophie's Instagram live right now, and it's bad. Her wedding is falling apart. Thought you should know." My stomach dropped. I opened Instagram and found Sophie's profile. She was live, 2,000 people watching. I clicked on it. The video was shaky, clearly being filmed by someone else, maybe one of her bridesmaids. Sophie was in her wedding dress, full hair and makeup, and she was crying. Not delicate tears, ugly crying. Mascara running, face red, the works. Behind her, I could see the Celestial Terrace. It's this gorgeous rooftop venue with views of downtown LA. Except there was a problem. The tables had no centerpieces. The chairs were folded and stacked against the wall. And there was a man in a suit, clearly the venue manager, standing with his arms crossed. Sophie was saying, "I don't understand. My sister paid for everything. She said she'd take care of it. Why are you doing this to me on my wedding day?" The venue manager's voice was calm but firm. "Miss Chen, we've been calling your sister for 3 weeks. We've emailed, texted, and left messages. We never received the $35,000 balance payment. Your deposit covered the initial booking, but without the balance, we cannot proceed with the event. We have another wedding booked here tomorrow, and we need you to vacate the premises." Sophie turned to the camera, her face a mess of tears and rage. "Maya, I know you're watching this. How could you do this to me? This is my wedding day. You're so selfish and jealous because you've never been pretty enough to have a day like this, and now you're sabotaging mine." I watched, frozen, as the comments started pouring in. Most people were confused, asking what was happening, but some were brutal. "Your sister doesn't owe you a wedding. Pay for your own stuff. This is embarrassing." Then Marcus appeared in the frame. Marcus is, or I guess was, Sophie's fiancé. He's 29, drives a leased BMW, and tells everyone he's an entrepreneur. What he actually does is sell some kind of health supplement MLM. He looked frantic. "Sophie, babe, we need to talk," he said, pulling her aside. The camera was still rolling. I could hear every word. "I just got off the phone with my distributor. The company is being investigated. They're freezing all accounts. I don't have access to any of my money." Sophie's face went white. "What do you mean you don't have access? What about the money from last month? You said you made $40,000 last month." "That money's gone, Sophie. I spent it. The ring, the honeymoon deposit, the ring!" Sophie shrieked. "You spent our money on my engagement ring? I had to. For the photos. For your Instagram. You told me it needed to be impressive." The live stream went crazy, comments flying. "This is reality TV. She's marrying a scammer. Call off the wedding." I should have closed the app. I should have put down my phone and gone back to my peaceful Maldives afternoon. But I couldn't look away. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Sophie was hyperventilating now. The bridesmaids were trying to calm her down. One of them said something about calling Maya. Another said maybe they could negotiate with the venue. The venue manager just shook his head and walked away. Then my phone rang. My mother, I answered this time. Her voice was shrill. Maya, thank God. Where are you? Why haven't you been answering? Your sister's wedding is falling apart. The venue won't let them use the space. Marcus apparently has no money. The caterer left an hour ago because they weren't paid. This is a disaster. I took a deep breath. I'm in the Maldives, Mom. Silence. Then, you're where? The Maldives. I'm on vacation. You remember, the vacation I told you I was taking because I wasn't invited to the wedding? Maya, this is not the time for your petty attitude. Your sister needs you. You need to wire money right now. 60,000 for the venue, 20,000 for the caterer, and probably another 10 for the florist. They're threatening to remove all the flowers. I watched a small fish swim past my feet in the infinity pool. The sun was setting, turning the water gold and pink. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I said, No. What? No, Mom. I'm not sending money. Sophie told me I wasn't pretty enough to come to her wedding. She uninvited me because I'd ruin her aesthetic. And you agreed with her. You stood in your kitchen and told me she had a point. So no, I'm not funding the wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. My mother's voice turned cold. You are being unbelievably selfish. This is your sister. Family helps family. Family doesn't tell each other they're too ugly to be in photos, Mom. Family doesn't use each other as ATMs while treating them like garbage. I'm done. If you don't help her, Maya, I will never forgive you. You'll be dead to me. I felt something crack in my chest, but it wasn't pain. It was relief. Then I guess I'm dead to you, I said, and I hung up. James was standing in the doorway of the villa. He'd heard the whole thing. He walked over, sat down next to me, and put his arm around my shoulders. You okay? He asked. I started crying, not sad crying. It was this weird mix of grief and liberation. I'm great, I said. I'm really, actually great. We spent the rest of that evening having dinner on our private deck. The resort's chef made us this incredible tasting menu: fresh sashimi, Wagyu beef, some kind of passion fruit dessert that melted in your mouth. We didn't talk about my family. We talked about opening a fourth restaurant, maybe in New York. We talked about traveling more, doing more things like this. We talked about the future, and for the first time, it felt like mine. Saturday morning, I woke up to 83 missed calls. I didn't listen to any of the voicemails. I did check Instagram, though. Sophie had posted a long note. The wedding was called off. She blamed me, of course. Said her sister had promised to pay for everything and then backed out last minute because of jealousy. She said she was heartbroken and betrayed. The comments were split. Some people felt bad for her. Others were calling her out for expecting someone else to pay for her wedding. Then Jennifer texted me again. Your mom's house is in trouble too. She co-signed a bunch of credit cards for Sophie. The bank's calling in the debts. She might lose the house. I stared at that message for a long time. I thought about my childhood home. I thought about my mother. I thought about every time she'd made me feel small, invisible, not good enough. I thought about how she'd raised Sophie to believe the world owed her everything because she was beautiful. And then I thought about how I'd built 3 successful restaurants from nothing. How I'd worked 80-hour weeks for years. How I'd earned every single thing I had. How I'd done it all while being told I wasn't pretty enough, wasn't charming enough, wasn't enough. I texted Jennifer back. That's unfortunate. I hope Mom figures it out. Then I blocked my mother's number, blocked Sophie's number, blocked every family member who'd sent me a nasty message about being selfish or cruel. James and I spent the rest of the Maldives trip doing exactly what we wanted. We went diving. We had couples massages. We took the resort's yacht out for a sunset cruise. We ate incredible food and drank expensive wine and slept in until noon. On our last night, I sat on the beach and watched the stars, and I felt something I'd never felt before when thinking about my family. Nothing, No guilt, no obligation, no pain, just nothing. When we got back to San Francisco, I had a stack of mail waiting. Among the bills and restaurant invoices was a letter from my mother, handwritten. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of me. The letter was 3 pages of guilt-tripping. How could I abandon my family in their time of need? Didn't I understand that Sophie's life was ruined? The wedding was off. Marcus had disappeared. Sophie was a laughingstock on social media. People were calling her a scammer and a spoiled brat. My mother had to sell her car to make credit card payments. And it was all my fault because I was selfish and jealous and had always resented Sophie's beauty. I read it twice, then I shredded it. 3 months later, I was at my flagship restaurant doing inventory when my sous chef told me someone was asking for me. I walked out to the dining room, and there was Sophie. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore jeans and a plain sweater. No makeup. She looked tired. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I almost said no, but something in her face made me pause. We sat down at a corner table. Sophie twisted her hands together, not making eye contact. "I got a job," she said. "Retail, at Nordstrom. I'm selling handbags." I didn't say anything. Marcus is gone. He got arrested. The MLM thing was a Ponzi scheme. He's facing fraud charges. Her voice cracked. I lost all my sponsors. My Instagram is dead. People hate me. Mom lost the house. She's living with Aunt Carol now, and she blames me. "I'm sorry that happened to you," I said. And I meant it. Not sorry enough to fix it, but sorry that she was hurting. Sophie finally looked at me. "I was so horrible to you. My whole life, I was horrible to you. Mom made me think I was special because I was pretty, and that you didn't matter because you weren't. And I believed it. I actually believed that my face was worth more than everything you accomplished." Tears started running down her cheeks. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I know now. I know how wrong I was. I know that I'm the one who ruined my own life. Not you." She stood up to leave. I sat there, watching her walk toward the door. Part of me wanted to call her back, to tell her we could rebuild our relationship, to offer her money or help or something. But I didn't. Because here's what I'd learned in the Maldives. Sitting by that infinity pool, watching the sunset. I didn't owe anyone access to my life just because we shared DNA. I didn't owe anyone forgiveness just because they finally realized they'd been cruel. I'd spent 32 years being the responsible one, the giver, the person who sacrificed so everyone else could shine. I was done sacrificing. Sophie left. I went back to my kitchen and finished inventory. That night, I went home to James, and we cooked dinner together in our apartment. We talked about his work, my restaurants, the vacation we were planning to Japan. We talked about everything except my family. And you know what? I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Not the kind of happiness that comes from fixing things or being needed or proving your worth. Just the simple happiness of living a life that was mine. 6 months after that, my second restaurant got a Michelin star. The review called it bold, innovative, and unapologetically confident. At the awards ceremony, I gave a speech thanking my team, my investors, and James. I didn't mention my family. I didn't mention the years of being told I wasn't enough. I just talked about the food, the work, and the future. That night I checked my phone and saw that Sophie had watched my Instagram story from the ceremony. She didn't comment, didn't like it, just watched it. My mother had too. I felt nothing. James asked me once if I ever regretted not helping with the wedding, not paying the money, not saving the day, not being the bigger person. I thought about it for a long time before answering. "I don't regret it," I told him. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I chose my peace over their comfort. And I'd make the same choice again. He kissed my forehead. "I'm proud of you," he said. And you know what? I was proud of me too. Because at the end of the day, I learned the most important lesson. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I'd been running on empty for 32 years, trying to earn love from people who only valued me for what I could give them. The Maldives didn't fix everything. Cutting off my family didn't make all the pain go away, but it gave me something more valuable than their approval. It gave me myself back. And that, it turns out, was worth more than any wedding, any relationship, any family tie that required me to be smaller, quieter, less than I was. I'm Maya Chen. I own 3 Michelin-starred restaurants. I live in a beautiful apartment with a man who loves me for who I am, not what I can do for him. I take expensive vacations and I don't apologize for my success, and I am enough. I always was.